Please welcome to the show, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin, did you ever
What's
think
up,
you'd
guys?
be back? Cheers.
Excited to be back. Don't worry. I got this nice.
My favorite part is just women's basketball, women's sports really, but women's basketball has been on the rise.
Caitlin Clark didn't hold back in her new interview with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi during the NCAA Finals. From her intense rookie season to the shocking rumors about her Indiana Fever teammates, the conversation took unexpected turns.
Those are the numbers.
It's huge.
Yeah, she's obviously doing amazing.
But what about the 6 technical fouls she racked up in her first year? Or that viral muscle photo that took over the internet? What Clark shared next left everyone hanging. And it's definitely something you'll want to hear.
And it's kind of like what Magic and Bird was to men's basketball. Like this moment, we kind of needed something.
This is
to
that
just
moment.
The NCAA Women's National Championship game between UConn and South Carolina on April 6, 2025, had something extra special for basketball fans. While the game itself was intense, the real fireworks came during a fun and honest 20-minute Zoom chat on ESPN's alternate broadcast, The Bird and Taurasi Show. Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever's rookie sensation, joined WNBA legends Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi for a no-filter conversation that had fans talking long after the final buzzer. Right from the start, the energy was high. The 3 stars didn't waste time getting into the real stuff. Diana Taurasi, who had once made a headline-grabbing comment about Clark's WNBA readiness, got the first laugh of the segment. She had told Scott Van Pelt back in 2024, "There's levels to this thing. You look amazing against college kids, but in the WNBA, you're playing grown women." That statement didn't sit well with a lot of Clark's fans, who felt it was a bit harsh. Taurasi later added fuel to the fire by calling new fans sensitive and comparing the WNBA jump to going from kindergarten to first grade. But this time around, the mood was lighter. As Clark congratulated Taurasi on retiring after a 20-year career, Taurasi joked, "Unfortunately, reality is coming to me now." That got a big laugh from Clark and Bird. Clark didn't have to say much. She just smirked and nodded, clearly confident after a strong first year in the league. Sue Bird grinned and said, "You've definitely made your mark, Caitlin." Clark replied, "I just tried to compete, stay focused, and keep getting better. That's all I can control." And better she did. Clark's rookie season was a big deal. She not only played well, but she proved she belonged. The Indiana Fever may be a young team, but Clark helped turn some heads, especially when they played against Taurasi's Phoenix Mercury. They talked about their matchups, especially the first one on June 30th, 2024. That game in Phoenix had a huge crowd, and the hype was real. Taurasi remembered it clearly. It felt like a playoff game. People showed up for Caitlin. You could feel the energy in the arena. Clark smiled. "We were down by double digits but found a way to win. That one felt special."
Cameras capture every single misstep. Every time Clark put up another historic stat line, social media flooded with side-by-side comparisons.
That win was big for Indiana. They beat a team with a winning record, something that wasn't happening much for them at the time. Clark had a great performance in those games against Phoenix, averaging over 20 points, double-digit assists, and solid rebounds. But more than the numbers, it was how she held her ground against one of the league's all-time greats. Taurasi nodded and said, "She's the real deal. I've been around long enough to know when someone's got it." Clark admitted, "Honestly, I was a little starstruck the first time. I grew up watching you, so playing against you was kind of crazy." Bird chimed in, "It's like the past and the future were on the same court. That's rare." And she wasn't wrong. Taurasi, the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, and Clark, the NCAA's all-time leader, shared more than just talent. They shared a love for the game and respect for what it takes to play at a high level. The chat ended with some good-natured teasing. Taurasi asked, "So Caitlin, ready to carry the torch?" Clark laughed, "Only if you promise to still come to games and talk trash from courtside."
The year race and all that stuff, but did Caitlin Clark lock up the Rookie of the Year with her performance in the Fever's win over the Sky?
I mean, I think she had locked it up before that game, but yeah.
Did that put
It's
the
her,
exclamation point on it?
Well, people are putting her in MVP.
One of the most talked about parts of the interview came when Caitlin Clark finally spoke up about the rumors going around about her Indiana Fever teammates. A while back, in September 2024, WNBA legend Cheryl Swoops went on the Gills Arena podcast and hinted that some players on the Fever were unhappy and didn't want to be there anymore. She even suggested that Clark's presence might be part of the problem. Swoops didn't say she had any real proof. She just said she had heard things, but her comments still got a lot of attention online, with people starting to wonder if the team was falling apart from the inside. Caitlin Clark, however, made it very clear that none of it was true. She said the whole team was actually really close and supportive of each other. That whole week, everyone was saying we didn't get along, she said. But honestly, this is the most connected team I've ever been a part of. You could tell she was frustrated, but she stayed calm and respectful while explaining it. She also pointed out that the Fever started their season 0-8, but then turned things around. And there's no way they could have done that if they weren't on the same page as a group. We wouldn't have been able to win games if we didn't have great chemistry, she said. We're young, we've learned a lot, and it's been fun. Her response felt honest and showed she wasn't afraid to defend herself and her teammates. A lot of fans on social media backed her up too. Some people even noticed how Swoops had changed her tone and said something positive about Clark later on. One fan wrote, "Wow, she actually said something nice about CC for once," while another asked, "Is Swoops okay? She didn't make up anything this time."
Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark has been named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, so the award, which has been distributed since 2019.
As for the future, Clark seemed pumped about what's next for the team. The Fever made some big moves during the offseason. They brought in veterans like Natasha Howard, Dwana Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and Brianna Turner. All of them bring experience, especially in big games. Clark knows that adding 7 new players will take work, especially with such a short training camp, but she's ready for the challenge. "We only have a few days before we play back-to-back preseason games on May 3rd and 4th, she said. Another fun moment from Caitlin Clark's interview came when she was asked about a viral photo that showed her arms looking super muscular. The picture took off online, and when Sue Bird brought it up, Caitlin couldn't help but laugh. Diana Taurasi even joked, "AI is getting out of control. Come on," which made everyone laugh more. But Clark said it wasn't fake. She's been spending real time in the weight room. "I've been working on getting stronger. I actually kind of like lifting weights, so it hasn't been hard for me to keep going," she said. For her, it's not just about looking stronger, it's about playing stronger. She wants to hold her own on the court, especially when driving into the paint. Clark also shared the parts of her game she's been working on lately. She said one big focus is her floater and mid-range shooting. "I used to feel a little uncomfortable in the mid-range area," she admitted. "I didn't really have a floater, and I didn't take many mid-range shots." Now, she's been putting in time to get better at finishing plays around the rim, especially when defenders are all over her. She knows being a more complete scorer is going to help her take another step forward in the WNBA. Then the conversation turned to her college battles with UConn, which were always big matchups. She played against them 3 times while at Iowa, including in the 2024 Final Four, a game Iowa won in a nail-biter. Clark spoke highly of UConn's defense and their legendary coach, Gino Auriemma. "Their scouting was always on point," she said. "He's such a smart coach and always had a solid game plan." She talked about how tough it was to deal with UConn's defense, especially players like Nika Mule, who guarded her full court. "She's one of the toughest defenders I've ever faced," Clark said. "She picks you up right away and never lets up."
Tire if they win. Diana said,
I don't think he will. I think when he looks at winning this year and then having Sarah Strong for another 3 years.
Clark also appreciated how Auriemma always had a backup plan, making it feel like a chess game. Every play mattered, and nothing came easy. It pushed her to become smarter and more creative on the floor. Even though it was frustrating at times, she admitted those games helped her grow a lot as a player. When asked about Paige Bueckers, who's expected to be the top pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, Clark's eyes lit up. She had nothing but praise for her. "Her poise is amazing," she said. "When you enter the league, everything hits you at once. New city, new team, new coach, and so many expectations." Clark thinks Bueckers will handle it all with calm and confidence. She also mentioned how good Bueckers is all over the court. She can score anywhere, threes, mid-range, at the rim. Her mid-range shot is probably one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, I do agree with you though, Dee. I do agree with you. What happens to Coach Auriemma every time a great player comes through is he wants to stay all 4 years.
When Caitlin Clark, Sue Bird, and Diana Taurasi sit down to talk, you just know it's going to get fun, especially when the topic turns to referees. And this time, they didn't hold back. What started as a simple chat turned into a hilarious back and forth about technical fouls and getting tossed out of games. Taurasi, always full of energy and honesty, shared one of her favorite stories, getting texts in both the first and third quarters before being ejected. "It was time to go home," she joked, laughing as she pointed out that her team still won that game. Sue Bird jumped in, acting like she barely ever gets in trouble with the refs. She teased that her record was basically spotless, which made Clark and Taurasi Taurasi roll their eyes and laugh. Then Clark admitted something that surprised even them. She had 6 technical fouls in her rookie season. That's just one short of the number that gets you suspended for a game. And half of mine weren't even from yelling at refs, Clark said. Some were for things like slapping the basket stand or making contact during a play. I don't like those little texts, she added, clearly still annoyed.
You make a lot of jokes about women's sports, don't you, Michael?
I wouldn't say a lot, but it's not on the regular.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot.
Taurasi and Bird didn't let her off the hook, though. They joked about how many texts Clark might get in 2025, setting the line at 4.5. Both said they'd take the over, meaning they think she'll get more than that. Clark laughed and said her new coach, Stephanie White, wants her to keep it to just 2. I'm gonna try, Clark said with a grin, but we'll see. She even shared that she came really close to being suspended at the end of last season, and the Fever tried, but couldn't get any of those calls taken back. Even with all the jokes, it was clear Clark understands the balance between playing with passion and staying smart. That's something that's gonna help her keep growing into a strong leader. Toward the end of the interview, they looked back at the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. Taurasi called it the perfect setup to test the rookies, and Clark, who played well in that game, laughed and raised her drink, saying, "I had a great time." You could feel the respect and fun between all 3 players, even as they teased each other. Taurasi had one last question for Clark. Do you want to be like Sue or me? Clark didn't even pause. She smiled and said, somewhere in the middle. That answer had everyone cracking up. Throughout the chat, Clark showed she's got the attitude, the sense of humor, and the focus to keep rising. She's got big goals, but she's also grounded, aware, and confident. With training camp coming and preseason games right after, Caitlin Clark looks more than ready to shine in her second WNBA season. What are your views on this? Do let us know in the comment section below. And for more such amazing videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel.